This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Everybody Lies, Massive Late Fees house show. I guess that's as good of an intro as any.
We paid a professional to write that for us.
My name is Mark. With me, as always, is my co-host, Mike. How are you doing today, Mike?
Not too bad, Mark. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. We're doing well here at Everybody Lies / Massive Late Fee. I got us onto I have a thing on Reddit. I have an account on Reddit, and there's
bragging.
There's a House MD, thread. I think that's what they call them on Reddit.
Subreddit.
I'm not good at Reddit. Okay, yeah, there's a House MD subreddit, and I posted our thing there. So I think we got some additional listeners there. I'll probably post a little bit more. They seem to be okay with me posting about our show there, which is good. Sometimes they're okay with it. Sometimes they remove you and kick you out of their group.
Aw.
Depends on what subreddit it is. But
right.
Anyway, so we're picking up listeners, which is good. People seem to be enjoying the show. I've heard from a couple people actually that says that this is their new favorite part of our show, whatever you want to call it. Their new favorite thing that we're doing, and I guess maybe that's partially because it's probably the shortest.
Yeah, I can see that.
But anyway, so today we watched.
It's not like they were being forced to listen to it.
No, that's true. Yeah, what the fuck, guys? What? Oh wait, no, they actually complimented us though. I just made up in my head that they insulted us.
Yeah, that's true. So if anything, it's your fault.
But anyway, so we watched episode. What are we on? Episode 4?
I believe it is episode 4, Maternity.
Yeah, Maternity. So we had Paternity. Now we've got Maternity. And then Regicide is another? No, I don't know. I couldn't make a joke out of that.
Fraternity, maybe?
Yeah, there you go, Fraternity. But I don't think there's an episode called Fraternity.
Well, I think they missed a boat on this one.
But anyway, this one takes place in the maternity ward of Princeton Plainsboro Teaching Hospital. House is there in the lounge, the doctor's lounge in the maternity ward, because they have a nice TV, and he likes to watch his soap opera. This is weird, and actually it leads to a couple kind of funny things throughout the series, but for some reason, and I don't know what that reason is, because it doesn't really seem like it fits his personality to me, but for some reason he loves this soap opera, which is about a hospital. It's sort of it looks like what's that one? General Hospital. It looks kind of like General Hospital, I guess.
It looks like a porn parody without the pornographic part of House MD.
It really does, yes.
Because the one guy kind of looks like Chase.
It does.
In fact, I thought it was him for a while. And
all the women seem to have really big blow-dried hair.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know why he likes this, but this comes up a lot throughout the entire run of the series that he likes this soap opera. So he's there watching the soap opera. A couple doctors come in. I guess I should back up a little bit because the very beginning of the episode shows some new parents with their child talking about what they're going to name their child. I guess this still happens, but for the most part, don't you think parents sort of have the name down before the child's born?
You would think so.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you love dead babies, you are in for a treat this episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got babies dying left and right.
Yeah, none of them are even being, none of them are even being traded in for cars or anything like that.
No.
That's
no meth involved.
That's a callback, yeah. Okay, yeah, because that comes out before this comes out. So that's the callback, not a call forward.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, so they're talking about what they're going to name their baby. He suggests what, Amber, and she says that's a stripper name.
Right. Which is also a callback So
Yeah, exactly.
we planned this.
So I don't know if I agree that Amber's a stripper name. I mean, I get where
Yeah, I don't
she's
think
coming
so.
from, but
I would say though that it is the color of your energy.
I have a friend named Cinnamon, and
Oh, that's a stripper
I
name.
was gonna say that I can see somebody saying that's a stripper name, but that is her real name is Cinnamon. But anyway, so she
The
says,
baby starts like spitting up.
yeah, exactly, and she hasn't eaten apparently yet because she's brand
Right.
new.
Yeah, I think they said like she's like 48 hours, and I did find this kind of funny because like I don't know about you, but when I was like a new parent, basically everything the child did or did not do, like I thought was like, oh my god, what the hell's going on here?
Yes, exactly.
It's funny that the dad kind of recognizes like, no, I mean, they do that. I mean, he's right, obviously under normal circumstances,
Yeah,
but
because
these
he
aren't
does.
normal circumstances at all, are they? House MD.
So he goes out and gets a nurse or gets a doctor, and the doctor says, "Okay, I just deliver him. Next time, talk to the pediatrician about this." And then he looks, and the baby's unresponsive, and then the baby starts having a seizure, which
And it was like super warm too.
yeah, which I don't mean to laugh, but like Mike said, if you're a fan of dead babies, definitely, I guess this episode's the episode for you. But also, if you're a fan of Cabbage Patch Kids or, it's the early 2000s and we don't have a ton of money for super realistic looking dolls, because it's very clear that he's kind of just holding it and shaking it. And there is some sort of internal mechanism, I think, that's also shaking the baby around. But if you
But it
really,
also wets itself at the same time.
but if you really pay attention to the actor's hands, you can see he's doing some work there, to make it appear as if the baby's seizing as well, as is the camera.
I can only assume they couldn't get an actual baby for this part.
Yeah,
I mean, you don't want to shake it around, especially when you need multiple takes.
right. They should have just waited for a baby to have an actual seizure and filmed that.
Jeez, we're into some dark episodes.
Yeah, that's fine. But the baby has a seizure.
Is everything okay, Mark?
Yeah, it's fine.
You need to talk it out?
Well, the kids are struggling in school and they just won't leave me the fuck alone.
Jeez.
No, they're fine. But so House is in there. He's watching his soap opera, and the aforementioned OBGYN or obstetrician, whatever, the guy delivering the baby that helped this seizure kid. He starts. He's talking to another doctor there on the ward as they come in and saying that yeah, she's got a bowel obstruction, all this stuff. And then the other guy's like, oh, she had a fever. And they're kind of talking about it where they had like sort of similar cases, I suppose, where they both had fevers. And they were diagnosed with different things. So House is listening, and they say to him, you can't be in here, House. They all know him. Everyone in this hospital knows who this guy is.
He's just like some like weirdo who like kind of wanders around.
So like, you can't be in here, House. And then they start talking about this, and House leaves because his interest has been piqued. So he says, what happens after this? He doesn't go straight to Cuddy, does he?
No, I think him and Foreman go around just picking up babies.
I think that's afterwards.
Is it?
I feel like he says something to somebody. Maybe he talks to Wilson. I can't remember.
I think he talks to Wilson, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He talks to Wilson, and he says that there's two babies. They aren't sharing staff. They were delivered by different people. They're about the same age. They're about the same amount of hours old, and they have fevers. That's what they both have fevers. That's what they have in common. Otherwise, they were completely healthy when they were born, and he doesn't know what the hell's going on. So he talks to Cuddy, and Cuddy says it's a coincidence. So funny. They're always questioning him, and they are always wrong.
Right.
But she says, yeah, it's a coincidence, whatever. They're just two normal babies. So he says, okay, well, how many is not a coincidence, is what he says to himself. So that's when him and Foreman and the rest of the team just go go start picking up babies. They're looking for another baby that's got a fever, and they find one in a lesbian couple that I guess, I don't think they ever actually state this, but obviously one of them was pregnant, so artificial insemination, and she carried the baby to term. Same kind of thing, baby boy that also has a fever. And he looks like
And
Bill
don't they
Cosby for
find-
some reason.
Don't they find 6 total?
Yes. So after he finds that one, that's when Cuddy says, "Okay, we're going to shut the ER down and route people someplace else because there's an infection somewhere in or not the ER, the maternity ward."
Yeah, and some lady comes in like in labor essentially, and it's like, no, you got to go. Turn around, and they just shut it all down.
What I think is funny is the dad's basically like, "Why are you doing this?" Which is funny to me, but I kind of get it. But also, if I was being turned away from a maternity ward because the maternity ward was closed, my thought process would more move towards the lines of, okay, well, we don't want to be here then. If they're closed, there's a reason they're closed.
We insist you take us in.
Yeah. They didn't want that baby.
Right.
That baby's getting sold for a car. Anyway, so they close down the maternity ward, and they, like you said, they find 6 babies in total, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. It's obviously some sort of infection, but they don't know what kind of infection. The most likely suspect is a bacterial infection. The babies have all been put on antibiotics, regular broad spectrum antibiotics, and it's not responding to that. So it has to be a resistant strain of whatever it is. And so they go with the usual suspects. MRSA obviously is probably the most common, which I can't remember what it stands for. I know it's a streptococcus.
Multiple something.
Yeah.
Resistant. Super.
It's Streptococcus
Angel.
aureus, I believe, is the last. But I know it's a form of that. But I don't.
It's not good.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's never good when it's MRSA. And then there's a couple other things, and Foreman's basically like, well, if it's that, they're all dead anyway. There's nothing we can do. There is absolutely no treatment for it. I can't remember what it was. Something A or something like that, or Vera, something, I don't remember. But they were like, so I think it's Cuddy. She's like, I know there's only been like 2 cases ever. And Foreman's like, well, it doesn't matter if it's that, because if it's that, then they're all dead. There's nothing we can do about that. So they focus on MRSA and one other one, and they give them 2 targeted antibiotics for that. I think I'm trying to remember the antibiotics. One I've never heard of, and another one I think I have heard of. Is it vancomycin or something like that, or aspergillus, or I think aspergillus is a disease. Anyway, they give him 2 really powerful antibiotics. So they're trying to figure out, what the disease is, but they want to try to control it while they're doing that. So they're going through and they're doing what's the next test they do? Do you remember?
I
guess
trying to remember. I think it's. I know initially the one they thought had like a house thought that because they said they had an obstruction.
Yeah.
But then they did an X-ray, and so he's like, oh, this could actually just be gas or whatever. And then they gave all the babies MRIs. I don't know what they were looking for.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think they were trying to look for inflammation. I'm guessing something.
Yeah, I think they were trying to find if they could figure out where this whatever it was, a bacteria or whatever they thought it was, would be. I mean, it had to be a bacteria because, as they say later in the episode, if it's a virus, spoiler alert, they could never figure out which one it was.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, they give them all MRIs. They're trying to figure things out, and then lo and behold, one of the babies, or I think all of them, basically, or at least 2 of them, the baby's kidneys are failing, and the reason the kidneys are failing is because of the antibiotics. And
didn't they treat all the babies with both of the antibiotics? And so they're saying one of them has to be the wrong one, but they're not sure which one it is.
Exactly. And they point out that House, as he stated before, has a double specialty in infectious disease, which these are infectious diseases, and nephrology, which is a doctor of the kidneys. So they say to House, you're the nephrologist. Which one is it? Which one is the one causing their kidneys to fail? And Chase basically says they both could. I don't know how he knows. He's clearly the one that knows the least of any of them, and that comes up a lot throughout.
Yeah, Chase doesn't seem to know anything.
No, so they all have different specialties, as we'll later find out. Foreman's specialty is neurology. Cameron's specialty is immunology or rheumatology. It's sometimes called autoimmune diseases. I believe Chase's is sports medicine or something like that.
See, I thought he was a surgeon for some reason.
Later they make him a surgeon. I mean, I think they mentioned that he had a surgical residency, or maybe he finishes his surgical training or something like that. But later in the series, he does become a surgeon. Yeah, and apparently a good one, I guess.
Whatever.
But so
it's good he's good at that, because he sure isn't good at fucking diagnosing anybody.
Right, exactly. So he's
like, what does he? It's Foreman does all the work here. He does all the work.
Yeah, he does. He does. If House isn't figuring it out, it's Foreman leading people to the solutions. Basically,
the pressure of House and Foreman bucking up against each other turns this coal into a diamond of a solution. That's what happens in that.
Exactly. But anyway, so he says both of these things could do it. We can't know which one. So House says, okay, well, there's only one thing to do then. Both of their kidneys are failing. So it's the baby Maxine that we met at the beginning, the girl, and the boy whose name I can't remember, but it's the lesbian Asian couple's kid. They're the two ones with the failing kidneys. And House says, take one off one of the antibiotics and take the other one off the other antibiotic. And they all raise objections to that. Basically saying you can't experiment on patients, and you're condemning one of them to die if you do this, and there's no medical justification for giving different treatments for two patients that have the same thing. And so, they go to Cuddy, and they talk it out with the lawyer, who also knows House, and says, normally I'd just let you, burn your medical license to the ground, but I also have to protect the hospital. So you need a justification for doing this. And House basically mocks him and admits there is no justification. It's basically one of them's going to die, one of them's not going to die, and then we'll know. And the other 6 kids, actually there's more now. I think there's up to 12 or something like that now. The other kids will live because of this. It's basically one baby sacrificing itself unknowingly for the rest of the babies, or House sacrificing one of the babies for the rest of the lives of the babies. Which, is it moral? Is it logical? Is it both? I don't know. Is it neither? That's a tough question to answer. I don't really see what else he was supposed to do, but it also feels really horrible.
Yeah, I don't know. House. It's kind of disturbing almost how callous he is. Like him and the attorney in the office.
Yeah.
Neither of them really care. The attorney only cares about you have to justify it with some kind of medical, reason.
Mm-hmm. And Cuddy.
And unfortunately.
Yeah, go ahead.
Unfortunately, House is correct. That's really the only way they can figure it out. They don't have enough time to, tease it out by giving a half of this and, a little bit more of this sort of thing. They really don't have time because they're very young and, they're going to die if they don't get, the right.
Yeah. And yeah, there's nothing they really can do. So, that's Cuddy basically says, do what you think you need to do. So basically do it. Now, nothing ever happens. There is no ramification for this decision. they really built it up, and there was really no payoff. I mean, maybe
Yeah, they just talk the patient because basically all they have to do is talk the parents into it and imply, enough that it's very risky. But Cameron doesn't seem to do that. Like, I mean, at least from what they say, she's not as clear about the results. But she's like, oh, I just want to make sure they have hope, for this time.
Yeah. And it's an interesting argument that Cameron makes. Basically, Wilson says they need to be prepared that this could go really badly. And she says you can never prepare for something like this, basically. And it's better just to give them hope for a few hours, even if things are going to go completely south. It's an interesting argument, I guess. But really, it's more about Cameron avoiding having that conversation, because we learn a lot more about Cameron's character this week, and it's clear she lost somebody close to her. We will eventually find out who that was, but it's clear that she lost somebody that's close to her, and she is uncomfortable with talking about people dying. I don't know, maybe because House barely ever had any cases. But somehow she's been able to avoid that in her entire time being a doctor, I guess. I'm not really sure how.
Yeah, I don't know either. I mean, maybe her specialty, immunology, doesn't have a lot of direct interaction with patients. I don't really know.
And also, I mean, there are some autoimmune diseases that are fatal, but for the most part, autoimmune diseases really aren't fatal. The ones that do carry like terminal diagnoses are usually pretty rare. We see a couple of them throughout the course of the series of House, but for the most part, it's usually not an autoimmune disease if it's something that's going to kill the person. But anyway, so they, so she's not doing well with having the conversation. And they do the thing. They take one off one and they take the other off the other one. And one of the children starts to seize and really, be in a bad way. that baby's feeling some kind of way. So the baby, they start trying to save its life. The baby ends up dying. We think it's like a tease for a minute. We think it's Maxine, the white female child of the white heterosexual couple, but thank God it's just the lesbian couple's boy baby.
Right, because they haven't had it hard enough.
That's what it makes me think of, and maybe that's cynical. I don't know, but I don't know. It just makes me kind of think that way, that they wanted, because she talks about how the mom was talking about how we're going to break up, aren't we? We had a neighbor whose child died, and they got divorced like 6 months later. It's like our perfect, happy, heterosexual home's going to be broken up because of this. And oh my God, our baby's dying. But no, it's not our baby. It's the other one. So,
you almost expect like a satisfied look across her face when he says, oh wait, it's not her baby.
Yeah, exactly. So, the House has the unenviable task of doing the autopsy on the Cabbage Patch doll, which they make sure that, I mean, obviously because of moral reasons or good taste, they don't actually show the autopsy. They just show him preparing for the autopsy, and they film what does start. I think he makes one incision in the chest area from far away. So that, and obviously because it's a doll, obviously you don't want to film it super close. And like I said, I mean it's the early 2000s. They don't have a real great budget. It's a really obvious doll, but that's probably good. I mean, and maybe that's even on purpose, because if they
kind of thought maybe this was on purpose for these scenes just so you could detach yourself.
Exactly, because if you make it too realistic, then it becomes like incredibly upsetting. At least if it's a little bit fake, you can have that in the, like you said, the detachment just in the back of your head. Like you can tell yourself it's just a show. This, a baby didn't really die. It's okay, kind of thing. So yeah, I think maybe that might be the reason. But he does the autopsy, and he doesn't. I don't think he really finds much. Not much that gives them any kind of clue, really. And it turns out that the
Wait,
other
no,
bit. Yeah, go ahead.
I just completely forgot we're entirely forgetting the B story. This is like the one of the first episodes that have a really solid B story, I think.
Oh, yes, 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 yes.
Whoops.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
No, you.
I like this one. So, the clinic, the woman that comes into the clinic, is she comes in and she complains about being tired. I think after running, she's training for a marathon or something like that.
Yeah, and she's not losing any weight either.
Exactly. So House tells her to raise up her arms, and then he comes at her with a, what do they call that? To see
Ultrasound thing?
Yeah,
Sonogram?
yeah, ultrasound. That's right. So he comes at her with the ultrasound wand, tells her to lift her shirt up, and says that she has a parasite. And it's a funny little conversation. She's like, a parasite, and he's like, don't worry. She goes, can I do anything about it? And he said, only for about another month. But it's after that it's illegal in most states. And it's like you slowly get it what he's talking about. And he talks about how people like to dress up their parasites and do
Right.
play dates with other parasites. And it turns out she's pregnant, which she says, "Oh my God, that's that can't happen. I'm on this birth control." And he said, "I know. I saw the under the arm." She said, "They said I'm not supposed to get my period if it's working." Which is funny to me because, as he points out, you also won't get your period if it's not working.
Right.
Which is why you're supposed to have regular pregnancy tests. But it turns out that she's due in 5 months, and it turns out that about 4 months ago, her and her husband had an argument. They separated for a short period of time, and she had an affair or one night stand with an ex-boyfriend. So she's worried that it might not be his. And he says, well, does he look like your husband? I think basically he's asking, are they the same race? And she says, yeah. Or, similar.
Well, I think he's actually just asking if they look similar, to similar enough that you could confuse one for the other's child.
Right. And she says, yeah. And he's like, well, it doesn't matter then. Just raise it or just don't tell him or whatever. But she apparently wants to know. I don't know if she's the type of person that needs to know or if she feels it would be unfair to him or whatever, but she really wants to know. So she makes up this story. She comes back and she makes up this story about how the mono that he was treating her for.
Right. And the guy's hilarious. He's like, what are you, I'm not even tired at all.
Yeah. She's like, you thought it might come from him, so don't you need his blood? And House just plays along and says, yeah, I'll take his blood and everything. And then I'm trying to think, when does he... Oh, yeah, okay, so this is after everything's over, the next part of this. So then all this stuff, happens. This is kind of happening in between with all this stuff happening with the babies. And it turns out that the other child, the white heterosexual child, is also starting to decline as well.
Whoa! Can we really say the child is heterosexual at this point?
That's true.
Let's not label people, Mark.
The cisgendered, gender fluid child is also starting to circle the drain.
He really is fluid, huh?
Yeah. The other antibiotic helped, I guess, a little bit stave it off, but it didn't totally kill whatever it is. And it turns out, as you pointed out, Mike, that it's viral, not bacterial. Meaning there are, and this is true in a general sense. If a virus won't respond to broad spectrum antibiotics, which they usually do, thank God, but if it won't, and you don't have any clear indications of what it is, there are literally tens of thousands of viruses out there that can affect human beings. It's clear of all the areas or whatever they want, of all the sections of diseases you can get, whether it's an autoimmune disease or a virus or a bacterial infection or a fungus or a type of cancer. The viruses are far and away more than there are more of those than all the rest of them put together, probably like 10 times. So if you don't have any other indications, it's really tough. Now, what they do is what people normally do to figure out what type of virus it is, which I don't know why they didn't do at the very beginning of the episode, is they do a blood test to test for antibodies. That's usually how you figure out what type of virus somebody has. Yeah, you either
And
take.
since they essentially have no immune system, since they're so little, they say something about the mother's immune system will have an effect on it too.
Yeah, see, what happens is because the babies are so new, they're still protected by their mother's immune system, so they have their mother's antibodies in their blood. So, they didn't think about, we need the mother's blood too, because basically they the kids test positive for they give a list of they go down and make a list of all the usual, like not usual suspects necessarily, but all the most common ones that it could be that affect the heart.
Can you imagine how great it would be to be a lab technician at this hospital? I mean, you get overtime like a motherfucker at this place.
Absolutely.
You will get woken up at 2 a.m. Chase is feverishly shaking your lab coat.
Hey.
Can you see if he's got rabies?
I just came from the Bifrost. So yeah, they do all these tests and everything, and they said they have to get the mother's blood too, because they test positive for antibodies for 3 different ones, and basically whatever the mother's test positive for, they'll have those antibodies as well. Whatever the mother doesn't test positive for, then that's the one that they have, because they have markers for it and the mother doesn't. That's the one they've got, because they weren't protected from whatever it is from the mother's immune system. And it turns out that it's echovirus 2, which I guess one thing they did learn from the autopsy, I should say, is that it damaged the baby's heart muscle, so they knew it was a virus that affects the heart. So they find out it's echovirus 2. They're able to treat it with whatever antibiotic, I can't remember what it is in this episode, but whatever antibiotic it is that treats it, they're able to do that, and the babies end up being fine and being able to live, the rest of the babies. So that's good. Then what happens after this? So they treat the babies. Babies are going to be okay. And they don't know how it was spread. The whole time, Cuddy is going around with a bunch of doctors that would normally be working in the maternity ward, scrubbing different things and
they kind of give you a red herring here too. There's a guy who has this tie that's like constantly dripping in everything.
Yeah. Yep.
Like he's getting all over the sink that they just scrubbed, and at one point Cuddy comes up to him and just cuts it right off because she told him to use a tie pin, which he didn't.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, oh yeah, it's clearly going to be this fuck off, who
right.
is walking around with a stupid tie all day.
So yeah, they. So I think before this happens, the woman comes back from the clinic, and even though the husband's not there, he keeps up the subterfuge and says, "Your husband is definitely the cause of your mono." So she breathes a sigh of relief that it's the husband's baby, so that's good. I guess everything will work out. I don't know. But it is a kind of a warning sign that after one fight, she has sex with her boyfriend, but whatever. So she says, hey, I really trust you. I really want you to do my prenatal care and maybe at least deliver the baby. To which he says, no, quite loudly, because he's not an obstetrician. Why? I don't understand why he'd even be allowed to do this. But she really wants it. And
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
And then he stops and just kind of there's a look on his face, like a contemplative look. And then we cut. So he's in the maternity ward, sitting, just kind of looking, basically, for what could have caused this, this disease. And, he's like, it's weird. Wilson comes up to him, he's talking to Wilson. He's like, it's weird they didn't, obviously it's gone, but they didn't show any, they didn't share any personnel, they didn't share anything. There was no like commonalities that we can think of. And so this woman walks up, Candy Striper, I guess probably, and she's got a thing of bears for the newborns. And
isn't she one of the ladies who transports the babies?
It could be,
like from room to room. Because I thought she's pushing one when we see her.
But I think she's pushing a thing of bears, of stuffed
Oh,
bears.
it could be. Yeah, I thought there was babies in there.
But just babies piled on top.
Yeah, pile up. I mean, the way they're running through them at this fucking hospital, why not? She could work in the morgue for all I know. We should have put a blanket over that. Sorry. Are those Cabbage Patch dolls? Yes, dear. Cabbage Patch.
Anyway, so
got another load coming to the morgue. She's like calling over on her walkie-talkie.
All those kids that won't be able to be turned into cars. Oh.
Yeah, house was wrong again.
So she's clearly got some sort of disease, some sort of virus. It must be the Echo virus too. They told us earlier that basically it gives an adult cold-like symptoms or flu-like symptoms.
Yeah, I don't know why this lady's even at work. She's just like dripping snot over everything in the all over the dead babies and everything.
Exactly. Insult to injury there.
I hate when people like show up to like work and they're just like sick. It's like, why are you here to get me sick?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's such a selfish thing to do.
Just cover yourself in a blanket and sneeze on that all day, then send it to me, and then I'll wear it later and get sick.
Right.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
But anyway, so it's clear that it's her, and this is the one time in the episode, and I really hate it. We've got to go into her nose and see the little like disease pock or whatever, and see how it got passed to the bear and they got past to the baby's cheek. I mean, this is really like lowest common denominator thing, right? Like anyone's gonna be able to watch that and be like, I don't get it. She's sick, so what? And they're like, oh,
like a light bulb, like just like shatters over their head at that moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear when we see the bears that it's like, oh, okay, I get it. And they very cleverly, I kind of like this, foreshadow this a little bit, because at the very beginning they show Maxine and they put the bear in the baby's face and everything, like the do or whatever, and then when the Asian lesbian couple's baby dies, they're holding one of those bears. So it's kind of in the background a little bit where you're like, oh yeah, that when you watch it again, you're like, okay, I see what they're doing. They were planting some seeds there.
Right.
So he he basically he solves where it came from, which Wilson kind of like, he sounds like he's sort of like it's when he wants to know which colchicine medicine it was this kid got in the last episode. It seems like he's very dismissive of it, like oh, that's just house being crazy. But it's like, if there's someone infecting kids and they're still there, that's definitely something you want to know.
Right.
Like him finding this woman and probably saying, hey, all these bears need to be burned with the other baby bodies downstairs.
Right.
Is probably saving some other kids,
Right.
But anyway, so then we find out that House did decide to do the prenatal care for the woman, just so that he can sit in the lounge and watch the TV, because the same doctors come back in and said, House, we told you can't be here. And he said, oh, I'm doing prenatal care for one of my patients, so I have permissions to be in here. I'm going to do the delivery. And he says, of course, I need one of you to supervise, which I guess makes sense. I didn't know that anyone could just do prenatal care. But I mean, maybe he has permission.
I mean, it's not very difficult, I don't think. I mean, I imagine it's just him telling Chase to do the test anyways.
Yeah, exactly. But it's, yeah. It makes me, all of a sudden I just thought of that scene from Basketball when it was like Australian or San Franciscan for
Right.
vagina.
Oh man, I just remembered a really good point I had to make on the last podcast we did.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Yeah,
Let's do it now.
This will make no sense.
Okay.
By the way, my computer has 15 minutes left, so it better be quick.
Oh yeah, we'll be done in a second.
Yeah. Hey, at what point do you think Bill Cosby's wife knew?
Oh, that is a good question.
Because I think you can tell now that she knows. She doesn't say anything. She's very quiet. She stands by him, but she doesn't really comment on it. I mean, how long ago do you think she found out? Like, do you think she's like, "Hey, Bill, that's weird. Did you go to the doctor? I see this bottle of medicine you got here."
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think she knew before it came out publicly? Do you think, like, I don't know. I have to feel that.
See, at the very least, her best case scenario is that her husband's just cheating a lot on her. I mean, she's, I think that's like, oh, it was consensual. I think that's her excuse.
Yeah, maybe that's what she thought, too. Maybe she thought that he was cheating on her and maybe it hurt her feelings, but she didn't want to, she just loved him, so she wanted to stay or whatever. And
I don't know.
And then, this comes out, and if that's the case, if she knew he was doing something, then it had to be the first one that she knew. Like, the first one says something, and she's like, oh no, kind of thing.
Or maybe he just gave her some delicious barbecue sauce one day, and she woke up and like, wow, Bill, that was weird. He's like, yeah, I do that a lot.
Oh, God. Bill Cosby. He was the worst obstetrician. That's funny, too, because Bill Cosby was an obstetrician on the show.
See? It all ties in.
It all ties together. I didn't plan that at all, but it worked so well.
I heard he was quite a hypocrite, too.
Yeah, exactly. That's the worst part.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy that has a barbecue sauce that makes women, sleepy and want to have sex with him, and he's a gynecologist on the show.
And apparently young boys as well, so I know certain places, certain religious institutions that would buy the shit out of that barbecue sauce.
Absolutely. And Bryan Singer, is
who produces House?
That's true. It all ties together.
You just have to listen to all the podcasts and put the clues together.
Watch them too. Watch that still image.
Are you finally able to find the secret of Curly's gold? We've been dropping hints this whole time.
All right, well, that is our episode for the week. Mike, you got to get to bed. I've got to, I don't know, do stuff.
Make some barbecue sauce.
Yeah, that's right.
Get that fennel in there.
Oh. But as always, tell friends. Talk to us if you really like House. Drop a subscription to our feed here, and I don't know, talk to people and talk to us at Massive Late Fee. Massive Late Fee everywhere. You can find us on all the social medias except for that one in China. I can't remember what it is. The one that's exclusive in China, WeChat or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know what it's called. I thought of a joke, but I'm not going to say it.
Oh, I got to hear it off air then. Let's talk about that off air.
All right. Have a good day, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
See you next time.